Namaskar. This is Dr. Sunil Dutt, working as an assistant professor of physics at Department of Science and Technology of Faculty of Education and Methodology at the Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. So, the topic for my this presentation is Coulomb's law and Gauss's theorem. These topics comes under unit first of electrostatics of elementary physics course of BTech. Okay, so in order to start this topic, first we should know some basics like Coulomb's law is valid for charges. Okay, so as Newton's gave his theory of gravitation, for that you need basically two masses, m1 and m2. Similar to that, in electrostatics we need two charges. Okay, so to know about the Coulomb's law, first of all we should know about what is charge. So electric charge, you can say that electric charge is a physical property of matter that causes it to experience a force. Okay, so when the element or the material is placed in an electromagnetic field, there are two types of electric charges. Okay, so basically the electric charge can be of two types. So one, you can say that is one is your positive charge and another is the negative charge. So commonly we can say that the protons and electrons are respectively called as the positive charge and the negative charge. Okay, and there is some other assumptions which we say as that similar charges repel each other but opposite charges attract each other. This we can also see in our daily practice as well. So charge is a scalar quantity and its SI unit is coulomb and it is represented by capital C. And the dimensional formula of charge is in capital bracket capital A times capital T, where A stands for ampere and T stands for time. Okay. So this formula you can obtain from the relation that I is equal to Q upon T, or you can say Q is equal to I into T. So unit of current is ampere, which is denoted by A, and unit of time is second, which is given by capital T. So its dimensional formula becomes A times T. Okay. So before going into Coulomb's law, we should also know some basic properties of charge. That the charge follows the addition addition law of mathematics, means you can add the similar like of charges, and the charge for an isolated system remains conserved. Okay, and the charge is always quantized, and the minimum value of charge can be equal to the charge of an electron, which can be positive as well as negative. Okay, so these are some fundamental things about the Coulomb's law. And for Gauss's law, also we should know certain things like the charge distribution over a surface. So this surface can be of three different types. One is your linear. So for linear surfaces or the linear objects, we have linear charge density. For a plate or a laminar type of a structure, we have surface charge density, and for cubic or different type of structures, we can have volume charge density when the charge is distributed all over the volume of any element of any shape. Okay, so the linear charge density, which is also known as the charge per unit length, which we can denote by lambda, can be given by lambda is equal to Q upon L, and its unit is coulomb per meter, which is obvious from the formula, because the unit of charge Q is capital C and unit of length is meter, and we can give its dimensional formula as L to the power -1 times A into T. Mm, After linear charge density, the another term is the surface charge density. So the charge per unit area, it is also called as charge per unit area as surface charge density. So the surface charge density is represented by sigma, which is given by Q upon A, where Q is charge and A is the area of the surface over which the charge is distributed. So its units will be coulomb per meter square, and its dimensional formula will be L to the power -2 uh, capital A and capital T inside the capital bracket. Okay. So the third type of charge distribution can be of volume charge density, which is given by charge per unit volume, which is represented by rho, and rho is equal to Q upon V, where Q is charge and V is the volume of the shape. So its unit will be coulomb per meter cube, and its dimensional formula will be L raised to the power -3 into T into A. Okay, so these are some basic facts which we should know before going into the uh, Coulomb's law and in Gauss's law. So Coulomb law is quite similar to the Newton's law of gravitation. In Newton's law of gravitation, we are concerned about the masses. However, in case of Coulomb's law, we are concerned about the charges. Okay. So Coulomb's law states that the force of interaction between 2 point charges is directly proportional to the product of their charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them and acting along the line joining the two charges. Okay, so if you want to calculate the force, uh, basically if you you want to observe or you want to calculate the charge on force 2 by force 1, then its direction will be from point 1 towards point 2, means towards the direction on which we want to calculate the force. Okay, so let us consider there are two charges Q1 and Q2, which you can see in your notes which are uploaded on the website. So there are two charges Q1 and Q2 kept at a distance small r apart in vacuum. Okay. Then according to Coulomb's law, the force between the two charges is proportional to the charge on these 2 points, which is Q1 at one point and Q2 at another point. So the force between force by one charge on another will be given by capital F, and it will be proportional to Q1 into Q2. The second statement which was given by Coulomb was that the force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance. So F is proportional to 1 upon R square. And if we combine these two statements, then we can write F is proportional to Q1, Q2 upon R square. Or we can also replace this proportionality sign with equality sign. So we will introduce a symbol or a constant which is given here as K. So F is equal to K times Q1, Q2 upon R square. And if we observe this force and try to calculate this constant, so its value comes out to be 1 upon 4 pi times epsilon naught, where epsilon naught is the permittivity of free space. And if you calculate this value of 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, it will be equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square. So its unit you can easily calculate from the formula which is given above, which simply you know the unit of force, which is Newton. Unit of charge is Coulomb. It is 2 times. So Coulomb into Coulomb is Coulomb square. And in the denominator, we have R square. So its unit is meter. So Newton will be multiplied by R square, which is meter square, Newton meter square, and Q1, Q2 will move to denominator. So the unit of constant K will come out to be Newton meter square per Coulomb square. So in combined form, we can write the force between two charges will be equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R square. So as I told you, epsilon naught is called the permittivity of free space or vacuum, and its value is 8.854 into 10 to the power minus 12, and its unit to the reverse of the value of K, which is Coulomb square upon Newton meter square. And if we take Q1 and Q2 equal to unit charge, that is 1 Coulomb, and the distance between the two charges be 1 meter. So if Q1, Q2 is equal to 1 Coulomb and R is equal to 1 meter, then we can determine the value of force will be equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton. So how much will is the value of the Coulomb? Means 1 Coulomb. So 2 point charges are said to be of 1 Coulomb if they repel each other with a force of 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton when kept 1 meter apart in vacuum. So in this way, we can also get the definition of the Coulomb. Okay. So as I told you, that if we have two charges of 1 Coulomb at a distance of uh, 1 meter, and if we calculate the force, then it should be equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9. Or we can say that if the force between two charges which are kept at a distance of 1 meter is 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton, then the charges must be of 1 Coulomb each. So when the charges are kept in a medium of absolute permittivity epsilon, then the magnitude of the force of interaction between them will be given as F in medium will be equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon Q1 Q2 upon R square. So dividing equation 1 by equation 2, we can get F upon F in medium will be equal to epsilon upon epsilon naught. So the ratio epsilon upon epsilon naught is called the relative permittivity epsilon R or dielectric constant K of the medium. So epsilon upon epsilon naught will be equal to K, or you can write as epsilon upon epsilon naught is equal to epsilon naught times K. So if we replace this value in the above equation, we can get F in medium will be equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught K into Q1 Q2 upon R square, or F in medium will be equal to 1 upon K times 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R square, or F in medium can be simply given by F in vacuum upon K, where K is the constant, dielectric constant. Okay. So if we know the value of force in a medium, and we know the value of force in a vacuum, then we can determine the dielectric constant of the material as the value of dielectric constant K will be equal to force between two equal charges in vacuum upon force between two equal charges in a medium. So thus the Coulomb force between 2 point charges decreases when they are kept in a medium, uh, and if you keep this in a vacuum, and so its value will become 1 upon K times the force between the charges at the same separation in vacuum if you put this in a medium. Okay, so where K is the dielectric constant of that medium. So this is the normal definition of Coulomb's law. Okay. So in vector form, we can also represent the Coulomb's law in vector form, where we will be having the direction from one side to another, and also the force applied on these two charges, because you know force is a vector quantity. Okay, so here if we want to determine the force F21 on point charge Q2, which will be created by a charge Q1, then we will have a unit vector R12 in the expression and modulus of R12 in the denominator. Okay, so we will have vector F12, the value of vector F12. Similarly, for vector F21, we can determine uh, these two values. So if we come to its main points, then we can say that electrostatic force between two charges uh, is a central force, that is it acts along the line joining the two charges. Second point is that forces vector F12 and vector F21 are always equal but opposite in direction. So the Coulomb's law in vector form proves that Newton's third law of motion, that is for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, holds valid. So these are the cases when we are having only 2-point charges. There is a possibility when we have more than 2-point charges. So if there are more than 2-point charges, then their resultant will be the algebraic sum or the vector sum of all the charges. Means we have to determine the effect of one force on another. So I hope we can stop it here, and in the next session we will continue with the second topic. Thank you very much.